Holy Folk, my name's Darren from RC Scale Models, and today I'm back with you. Today we're going to look at some aftermarket products. Today we're going to talk about Zimmerit. Zimmerit is one of those things that you get on tanks, which is a paste that is put on German tanks to stop magnetic mines sticking to the tank, which actually was a German invention, the magnetic mines, which they were worried about allies getting hold of them and making their own and using them against them. So they come up with this paste called Zimmerit. Replicating that on your model tanks can be a little bit tricky task in my opinion, and it can be probably quite daunting for some people. There's several ways of doing it. You can get kits that are pre-molded in the plastic, which is okay, that will work and that's fine. But if you've got kits that don't have the Zimmerit and require Zimmerit work, there's several ways of doing it. Like you see here, this is a product from a company called Def Model, the company that makes these. These are decals or decals, how you want to pronounce it. These are the Zimmerit coatings for your tanks. I picked up 2 sets for my Tiger, 1 late and mid, and 2 for the StuG or StuG.IV, however you want to pronounce it. This is for the early version, and these 2 are for the Academy kit. These are for Tamiya Sloke Academy kit. You will have to do some modifications, but we will get into that. There are another way of doing Zimmerit. You can get Tamiya's decals, which are designed for their Tamiya kits only. These are stickers. The downfall with these though, these are not die cut and you have to cut them out yourself. So cutting some of these complex shapes can be quite tricky. Cutting these around here will probably not so bad. But when it comes to cutting these circles out and these small holes, that could be quite tricky to do. So you have that option, or there's another option. You can get a trumpeter tool, which I haven't get to use yet. It's still in the bag, which are these little wheels I've mentioned in the past. They have a Zimmerit coating on there, which creates the pattern. So obviously you put down some form of paste or putty, but you have to do it really thin, and roll this tool across to make the Zimmerit. But the only downfall with this tool, this Zimmerit coating pattern, is only for what you see here, which is the straight line pattern. For other coatings that you get on Zimmerit, which is known the waffle pattern, which are squares like you see here, and some other patterns, that's going to have to be a different story. I will probably get into that at a later date, but this is just for this type of pattern. Now we're going to go back to take a look at these Def models, Zimmerit coating ones. So the very first set, as I say, is for Tamiya Academy and AFV Club, and it does stay for Dragon, but it requires a little bit of modification. So let me get into this. So this is what you get. First we're going to take a look at instructions quickly. That explains, this is what you get. So it tells you your locations and some of the parts you need to pay attention to for what goes in certain places. And down here you see the red lines is for Tamiya, and the blue segments are for Tamiya, and red is for Academy. And so certain parts have to be removed on this decal, which is not a problem. I think that's going to be easier than the Tamiya sets. And trying to do this type of pattern with this type of tool on this type of tank, because there's such a complex shape, especially around this gun mantlet, would be quite tricky. So I think this is probably one of the easiest options to do. Let me know in the comments what you think about stuff like this and how you go about it and your thoughts and whatever. I'd like to hear your comments and reviews about it. So like I say, this is for the side of the turrets, this is for your gun mantlet. There's a couple of options you have to pay attention to. The back of the tank, there's a couple of parts you have to adjust for Academy or Tamiya and AFV. The front, again, comes with one big sheet, so you will have to slice it in half just to do some modifications. The sides don't look too bad. And don't forget, sorry, that's the wrong part. But now on the back it tells you how to apply them, which is exactly the same as normal decals. Cut them to shape as close as you can. Leave a little bit of trim in your water for 20 to 30 seconds, which is probably about right. Lukewarm water. Take the excess water off to let them set for a second so it removes from the decal sheet. Apply your decal solution. Apply your decal. Take off excess water and air bubbles, and then just apply a solution and let them set for several hours. However, what you see here is applying it straight to the plastic. I've never applied decals straight to a plastic model. All my decals have always been applied to a painted surface and gloss surface. So would it work by sticking it straight to plastic, or do you reckon priming the model with some primer, which I'll probably do anyway, with either Tamiya's primer. I have Tamiya's air primer, which is this one here, which is grey, which is the aerosol, or I have the German primer colour, which is the reddy brown colour. So what are your thoughts? Would you prime it and then stick decals on, or would the decals just work straight to plastic and then you can just paint over the top of it? As I say, I've never used these before, so if anyone's used these in the past, let me know, because I'd be interested to hear your comments and thoughts about them. Now, as for the actual decal sheet itself, this is what you get. I have seen other manufacturers do this kind of thing before. I think Academy have got their own for some of their own kits. I think Hobby Boss do something similar to this. I think Ming models, I think they got a set for their Panther. They do a set similar to this decal sheet, but this is their version. And I needed this set for the Tiger for my Tamiya, because trying to get the Tamiya sticker sheet was near impossible, so I managed to find these. And so this is your sides, these are the little vision ports, this is the side of the tank, this is the turret. The rest of this is for the gun manlet and stuff like that, and they're quite raised and pronounced. Yes, they look quite generic, which you have to bear that in mind. But I think this is still going to be an easier option than trying to do your own on a Tiger. Yes, you could probably chip out certain areas to make the Zimmerit worn and wear down, and I think it will work nicely. There's nothing on the back, and that's what you get for the Tiger 1. Second set we're going to look at is for the StuG early production version. This is for the Academy kit only, again from Def Models, so it's packaged the same way. So again, instructions and your decal sheet. So again, you have your numbers for your parts, which is called out for, and your locations. So it'd be the side of the turret, the lower section of the hull, which is done by the suspension, which I didn't actually thought they would Zimmer it down here, but they have. We have the front, by the looks of things, and then we have the upper hull and front glacier sections. So this section down here, free or not, or remove red areas. This segment here, what this means is this segment up here, you have to cut it in half. And it goes over the front and the lower, so you will have to slice it in half slightly. Slight modification, which is not a problem. A couple of modifications you have to do here, because some of the tanks have this kind of hatch on the front, so you just have to slightly adjust that, which is not a problem. And then the side of your fenders, I think, comes as possibly one sheet, and if it doesn't conform very well, you would just modify it slightly and put it into sections. But again, I think that would be damn sight easier than Tamiya's sticker sheet and stuff like that. And again, this type of tank, even though there's a lot of flat surfaces, I still think it would be quite tricky to use the tool again from Trumpeter. So again, just let me know what your thoughts are and stuff like this. Now this is the decal sheet again, printed the same way. It is in the silver, it's the same pattern, and it is all raised. It looks very nice. Again, would you paint or would you prime before putting these down, or would they be safe to put over plastic? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about stuff like this, and I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.